Yo, it's Tog from We Make Best, and in today's video, we're going to be explaining some of the cards currently on the ban list and the reasons behind them being banned. So we might as well start off the list with the strongest card ever printed in Flesh and Blood, Duskblade. Duskblade was banned on September 24th, 2021, and it's a Runeblade two-handed weapon. Whenever you attack with Duskblade, if you've played an attack action and a non-attack action this turn, put a +1 counter on Duskblade. At the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't played an attack action and a non-attack this turn, remove all +1 counters from Duskblade. So Duskblade was actually the quickest card to cop the ban hammer in the history of Flesh and Blood, actually getting banned on the same day that it was released. Even LSS believed they had made a mistake when printing this card and actually admitted to not testing it at all before its release. To put it into perspective, the game already has Rosetta Thorn, which is widely considered to be the strongest weapon in the game currently. But Duskblade takes that one step further, as it's essentially both a Rosetta as well as Dorinthia's Dawnblade in one weapon. Players having access to attack with Duskblade every turn due to it being a weapon made any and all control strategies at the time become irrelevant, as Duskblade would easily gain up to 10 counters or more during these games, becoming a 1 resource attack for 13 every turn. Luckily they banned this card on release, as at the time national season was about to begin and anyone and their dog could predict Duskblade decks would most likely be showing up as 99% of the meta share. LSS did apologize for the printing of this untested card, and it seems that they've learned well from this experience, as no card has had the same treatment as Duskblade has since. Now getting into number 2 on the list, we have Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning was banned on 17th of January 2022, and what Ball Lightning is, it comes in all 3 colors and it's a 0 cost lightning attack action. Ball Lightning says whenever a lightning or elemental action card would deal damage as combat chain, instead it deals that much +1, along with unconditional go again. Ball Lightning had a rather interesting reason for being banned, as this card was definitely seen as a good card, as you would spot at least 6 copies in most Briar decks at the time, but it wasn't actually the best card in the deck per se. The many reasonings leading to the banning of Ball Lightning was simply because of its synergy in the deck, as a lightning card for fuse effects, an attack action that synergized extremely well with cards like Weave Lightning, and most importantly was just an unconditional go again. So LSS decided to ban it in hopes of knocking the consistency down of the Briar decks at the time, in hopes of opening up the meta for other aggro decks to emerge. And just as LSS had planned, the meta did that soon after this banning. And now next up on the list, we actually have the card that was banned alongside Ball Lightning on January 17th, that being Plunder Run. Plunder Run also came in all 3 colors and is a 0 cost non-attack action that reads: the next time an attack action card you control hits this turn, draw a card. If Plunder Run was played from the arsenal, the next attack action card you play this turn gains +3 attack. Plunder Run has one of the strongest effects out of any non-attacks ever printed. At the time, it was completely normal to see 6 to 9 copies of Plunder Run in any aggro deck since it was a generic. The downside of Plunder Run was drawing multiple of them at a time, which was clunky, and it usually took at least a turn cycle to set it up in your arsenal in order to maintain the maximum effect. And even so, the upside from Plunder Run just completely outweighed all the downsides of this card, as it was most often the reason for the biggest damage turns possible back then. One of the main reasonings for Plunder Run being broken was because it isn't just the next attack that gets the on-hit draw effect, but instead the next attack to hit this turn. And because of this small detail in how the card was wrote, people's only true way to play around being one shot from a Plunder Run turn was the old block with my entire hand and hope for the best, which LSS did not believe to align with the positive play experience, resulting in Plunder Run being banned. And now next up on the list, we have Stubby Hammerers. Stubby Hammerers were banned on August 1st, 2022. They're a generic arms equipment that reads: action, destroy Stubby Hammerers, attack actions with 3 or less base power, gain +1 attack while attacking this turn. Now although Stubby Hammerers had been around for a whole year before it was banned, it only took 7 weeks from the release of Fire before Stubby Hammerers copped the ban Hammerers from LSS. Now Stubby Hammerers Fire was simply one of the fastest decks that has ever been legal in Flesh and Blood. Games often ended as early as turn 3 due to Fire simply looking to cast an Art of War or a Spreading Flames, cracking their Stubby Hammerers, and then creating a 6 to 8 attack long combat chain full of head jabs, Phoenix Flames, on hits, and then they even used cards like Tome of the Firebrand and Phoenix Form in order to extend their combat chains even further, to essentially OTK their opponent even if the defending player used their whole hand to block that turn. And at the time during the Road to National season, results would show that Stubby Hammerers Fire was by far the best deck in the format due to this. The consistency as well as the overall speed of the games led LSS to having to drop the ban Hammerer as soon as Road to National season ended. Now for the last card that we'll be going over on this list, it's actually the first card that was ever banned in Flesh and Blood: Drone of Brutality. Drone of Brutality was banned on March 26, 2021. And what Drone is it came in all 3 colors and was a 2-cost attack action that swung for 6. And if Drone of Brutality would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, instead put it to the bottom of your deck. So although the effect and stat line on this card may seem pretty underwhelming, especially when compared to the other cards on this list, Drone of Brutality at the time was actually the go-to win con for most control decks. But then in the control mirrors, this one card often led to one of the only infinite loops ever to be in Flesh and Blood. If neither player was able to kill the other before getting locked into a 3 drone versus 3 drone deck, this would lead into a forced draw for the game. Since one player would pitch 2 drones to attack with their 3rd drone for 6, only for the other player to block using all 3 of their drones to take no damage, then all the drone effects would trigger, putting them back into their respective decks, leading to both players just redrawing their 3 drones each, just to repeat this process over and over and over until time ran out. Being able to block with your win con card without repercussions bypassed the simple core aspect that LSS had envisioned for the game, and that being every card counts. To explain this concept a little bit further, imagine if a Rhino player blocked with their Blood Rush Bellows just for it to go to the bottom of their deck, and then the same goes for Kano with Aether Wildfire, Briar with Channel Mount Heroic, and so on and so on. That would be kinda silly, right? Well, that's essentially what Drone of Brutality decks did, allowing drone players to skip over this tough decision of whether they should block with their win con card or not, and eventually allow the Drone of Brutality to become the inevitable factor that will win them the game. So that's it for part 1 of explaining banned cards in Flesh and Blood. If you guys would be interested in seeing a part 2, let us know in the comments, and like always, like, share, and subscribe. But for now, we outie.